Okay, folks, in this video, we're going to discuss, this is probably going to be a long discussion, about the foundation of the Indian school of thought known as Sanatana Dharma, the eternal way, which constitutes modern religions such as Sikhism, Jainism, Hinduism, and Buddhism, what we refer to as these religions. Stray dogs are everywhere here. They're always popping out of everywhere. Sometimes they're so like totally harmless, other times they're pretty aggressive. Anyway, what I was saying is the Indian school of thought, which again, the modern religions, Buddhism, Hinduism, Sikhism, Jainism. This one is friendly. Hey, hey buddy. Hey buddy. Hey buddy. Say hello to the camera. Hey buddy. Hey. 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 So, there's a, and by the way, even these different religions, they even have their own schools of thoughts within them. Like, for example, Tibetan Buddhism does things a whole different way than Theravada, which is the Buddhism here in Thailand. The way they meditate is different. They're a tantric sort of school of thought. They use mantras. It's closer to Indian, so India, Hinduism. And even within Hinduism, I mean, oh boy, it goes on forever. The sort of different sects. But let's talk about the commonality. This is what we're going to talk about in this video. The common idea behind these schools of thought is the concept of non-attachment. Okay, and it's here's a nice farmer. I talked about last video how they don't speak English but they're so friendly. Savai mai. Savai. Oh, thank you. So hey, come here. Hey, you want to say hello? Hey. Oh, hello.
Okay.
Hey.
Yeah.
Yeah, very good. Cup. Yeah. So. Oh man, it's beautiful. This is a really blessed place. All right. So are we gonna get to the point here? All right. Let's get to the point. We're gonna get serious here. Take off this. Okay. And take off this. That's how serious we're gonna get in this video. All right. That's how serious we are. It took 3 minutes for us to get into it. Probably the best 3 minutes in the video. So, yeah. The concept is the concept of non-attachment. The concept is the concept of not clinging. The concept is the concept of letting go. Okay? And so if we take a little review of Buddha's Four Noble Truths, first thing he says is life is dukkha, life is unsatisfactory. Also translated as life is suffering. But again, the more accurate way of saying it is life is unsatisfactory. It is unsatisfaction. You meet your desires, unsatisfaction, because it's all impermanent. So it all basically because it's impermanent. Your youth is impermanent. You're gonna have old age. You're gonna get sick. You're gonna die. Even if you manage to maintain your body in such an exquisite place, it still has an expiry date, etc. You meet all your desires. You're unsatisfied at the end of it because you're gonna lose it. It's all in time. So then, it's the concept of impermanence, that everything is impermanent. That's essentially what all Hindu or Indian schools of thoughts are based on. It's the concept of impermanence. So they looked at life, they analyzed it, and they said, well, the only thing that we could agree upon here for certainty is that everything is impermanent. So the only constant in life is change, which is a paradoxical statement in and of itself because paradox is the law. So what these early people, these early highly evolved spiritual beings would do is they would meditate and they would say, well, I guess that's the conclusion. Everything is impermanent. Everything is impermanent. Okay. So how do we deal with this state of affairs? Everything is impermanent. And then you meditate on that and eventually you realize, okay, the only way I'm going to not suffer, to not be unsatisfied, is to move and flow with the constant changes of the impermanent world. Now, once you see that the world, all of creation is impermanent, this includes the astral plane, the causal plane, the physical plane. It's all always changing, always morphing, and it's taking on different forms, different things. Okay, so then they also come to realize that there has to be something, a basis, an unchanging, permanent being, a thing, an awareness, and that's the concept of Brahman, and that's the sort of cosmic love. That's what you call light. It's your true essence, energy. It's always there. It's permanent. It's the same. It doesn't change. And then it's playing out the Maya, the illusion, which is always what makes it an illusion. By the way, what makes it Maya is it appears to be real, but it's constantly changing. Therefore, it can't be grasped. It can't be grasped. You can't grasp this. You can't grasp any of this because it's always changing. Hence, the Vedanta, Advaita Vedanta says that the world is an appearance. It's an appearance. It appears to be real because it isn't. Because it's always changing. It can't be grasped. Okay, that's the conclusion, is that the world of creation cannot be grasped. But the minute we grasp it, we create unsatisfactoriness, we create suffering. And what is the grasping instrument? The grasping instrument, simply put, is the mind. It's the human mind. And probably in other forms, there's different mechanisms and grasping instruments. Okay, but definitely with humans, that's the human mind, is the grasping instrument. That's grasping, that's attaching. So you grow up eating one type of food, and then you move to a different country, and they don't have that food anymore. And you suffer because of it, because you're not moving with the times. You're still saying, oh, I miss the bagels that I used to eat for breakfast. And you wallow on it, and you go have breakfast, in this new place, and you're like, this is not as good as the bagels, and you spend you're always wallowing about it because you're not moving in with the constantly changing state of affairs of creation, which you're partaking in at the moment. And if you're not moving with that, you're in trouble, because you're always going to be unsatisfied in one way or another. You're always going to be unsatisfied. Okay? So then, these masters and these sages and these highly conscious beings said, okay, we see that it's all impermanent. We see that it would be ludicrous to grasp onto something. So then that's the second noble truth, is so life is unsatisfactory because everything is impermanent. Second noble truth is attachment or craving or desire is the cause of suffering. So let's say attachment is the cause of suffering. That's the second noble truth. Clinging to this, clinging to that, clinging to this, clinging to that, attaching to this, attaching to that. Third noble truth, attachment can be alleviated. Fourth noble truth is Buddha's eightfold path, the noble path, which is one way of freeing yourself. It's not the way. It's one way, and Buddha was very clear on that, by the way. He was asked, is the eightfold path the only way? He said, it's not the only way. He said, it's a way. He said, it's a way. Because it is just a way. Ashtanga yoga is another way. There's so many ways. Sufi dancing, mysticism, the whole mystical scene, Kabbalah. It's all different ways of realizing that. There's different ways. You can just follow the golden rule. That may be your way. It doesn't matter, okay? So many different ways. And so, but then that's the conclusion, essentially, of the Hindu school of thought, the Indian school of thought, let's say, is that life is impermanent, creation is impermanent, and it causes unsatisfactoriness if you cling on to it, if you attach to it, if you cling on, if you try to grasp the ungraspable. This is not graspable, folks. It's always changing. The only constant in life is change, okay? So, now, what does that look like? What does it mean to live a life where you're in flow, you're in harmony, but you're not attached to this or that? I could give you a lot of examples here. So, the one example that I used earlier is if you grew up, say, the first 20 years of your life eating the same foods, you grew up around the same neighborhood, same everything, your mom made you your favorite breakfast, and you really loved it, you always loved it, you always looked forward to it, you always enjoyed it. And then you moved somewhere else. For whatever reason, an unforeseen thing happens where it forces you to move somewhere else. And now you can't have the same breakfast. Now, it would be silly to grasp on the old ways of doing things and wallow and cry over spilled milk, or simply move on with the new moment. And that's not attachment. Okay? You're not renouncing your favorite breakfast, the bagels your mom made you every morning. You're not renouncing that. You're not saying, well, now is a new moment, so all that stuff is garbage. Or now I'm going to only eat fruits, for example, right? So all that's garbage. You're not renouncing any of it. You're just moving with the flow. All right, new moment. What's available here? Oh, okay, I guess they don't have bagels here. That's not a thing. All right, so I guess we'll just see something new, something else. Right? And we'll sort of, you move with the it's really, the renunciation is the renunciation of the attachment, of the clinging. It's not renouncing anything, actually, in creation itself. You're not renouncing the bagel. You're not renouncing your new found breakfast. You're not clinging on to that, or you're not clinging on to this. You're simply looking at your position in the universe, seeing what is available, and working with it. Essentially. Okay, that's essentially what non-attachment is. Because at every moment in the universe, there are so many forces acting upon you, and your job is to align yourself with these forces, harmonize yourself with these forces, and flow with these forces. Okay? So I could use a personal example and say, I lived in Canada for 15 years. I grew to hate winter in the last couple of years, 2-3 years. Before that, I actually didn't mind it at all. I always flew with it. There was no attachment. But I started to grow dissent. I started to grow unfulfilled a little bit. Okay? I had a new desire, a new craving. I wanted to be in the tropics. Now, here is the interesting thing. So, the forces that are acting upon me in the universe are basically telling me it's time to move on. And so they're speaking to me in that way. Okay? Now, this is where the attachment would be this is where the attachment would be. So, I could move to a new place. So I moved to a new place. Okay? But if I couldn't move to a new place, then I wouldn't be attached to that. I would simply have to accept that I have to be in Canada. Say I couldn't, for whatever reason, something happened there. I had to take care of a relative, for example, let's say. Okay, and I had to be with them for the next 5 years. Take care of them. I can only take care of them there. Now, I have the desire to move to the tropics, but then this new life circumstance came up. Okay? So, if I was so attached to moving to the tropics, of living somewhere warm, somewhere, nature and stuff, was attached to the idea of living in nature, which I do now. I live in nature. And then this new life circumstance came up. Now, this is where it would be the attachment. The attachment would be, well, I'm not going to take care of you because I am attached to that now. I can't do the cold anymore. I can't do Canada anymore. I can't do this Western system anymore. So I have to leave it. You see? As opposed to acknowledging that I have the desire now to move on. However, acknowledging also that this particular flow of things in life at the moment, the way the Tao is harmonized, requires me to be here for another, say, 5 years. So then I would accept. I would not cling on to the idea of I have to move to the tropics now. I have to go. I would simply just be like, okay, all right, 5 years. Let's be here. Let's just be here now. All right, new moment. This is the harmony of the way, the harmony of the Tao. When I feel, I listen that the harmony is changing, and the forces are acting upon me that are now saying, okay, you could now move on, then I would move on. Okay, but you see that it isn't renouncing anything. It isn't renouncing the world. It isn't renouncing your desires. Actually, it isn't renouncing the desires at all. It's, if you can change it, change it. If you can't, paint it. If you could take that with you, write it on your wall or something, recite it as a mantra. If you can change it, change it. If you can't, paint it. That's non-attachment in a nutshell. That's non-attachment in a nutshell. Because it's not denying what your particular form of God is desiring at the moment. It isn't in denial of any of it. It's simply saying, is it in flow? Is it in harmony? If you can change something, change it. That's the way the universe puts you in a position to change it. So you're actually flowing in harmony. There's no attachment there. You're just doing what is harmonious with your particular manifestation. But if you can't change it, now, see? Now the attachment comes in, because you can't change it. It is what it is. You have to take care of your child for 5 years. You have to take care of your relative for 5 years. They have cancer or something, and you've got to be with them for 5 years or something, right? You've got to be in that place. Your desire is pulling you somewhere else, but you've got to be here. You just know you have to play that role now. Okay, can't change it. Paint it. Paint it. Get on with it. Move on. Harmonize yourself with the moment. And there will be another time, perhaps, another call for that other thing to happen. You moving away or something. So if you can change it, change it. If you can't, paint it. It isn't about renouncing your desires. It isn't about renouncing anything particular. It isn't about even renouncing the world, really, because renouncing the world could create another attachment, which is I'm detached from the world. There's an attachment. There's an attachment. I'm never going to have sex. I'm never going to eat. I'm never going to this. I'm never going to that, right? That could be an attachment also. I'm attached to holiness. I'm attached to holiness. That's an attachment on its own, right? That's an attachment. An attachment for the light. Yeah, an attachment for the light. Okay, and even that. But that they say that's the highest desire. That's the highest attachment. Is the attachment to the light. So you're attached to the light you're attached to God. So you renounce the world because you want to go to God. But even that, and usually what happens is this. You renounce the world, you say, well, I'm done with the world now. I'm going to God. I'm going to meditate. I'm a brahmacharya, no sex. I'm going to try and even be a breatharian, or I'm going to eat very little. Non-attachment, you leave everything behind. You see these, sadhus are everywhere in India, millions of them, right? Just wandering sadhus, holy men. And some of them are indeed non-attached. They're just playing their role as the sadhu. Okay, but if you offered that sadhu something or whatever, and it's in harmony, they might even, a truly non-attached sadhu might even engage in some sexual activity if she feels that it's in harmony with things as they are in the moment. They may still lead a brahmacharya life, but maybe they feel this harmony now sort of calls for this, perhaps some encounter of sexual nature. That's, in my books anyway, that's a non-attached sadhu. It's not that you're not doing your sadhu ways anymore, you're renouncing ways. You're still basically living that life, but you might find there's the flow of things. So here's another example, right? So let's say you're now a hardcore fruitarian. You're just eating fruits, okay? That's your new attachment. Now these attachments, again, they can be helpful. They're crutches because you want to rid yourself of all these other foods and really lighten up your diet. So you say, I'm only eating fruits. You do it for 3 months, right? Just fruits, attachment. That's helpful. That's helpful. It's helping you. You feel your body's better. You're more connected spiritually, you're lighter, you're sleeping less, you're feeling more energized. It helps you, right? But then you go visit your family and your mom makes you your something, your favorite childhood meal. You get from the airport and your mom has this surprise thing for you, your favorite food from when you were 10 years old. Aha, see, now that's when it becomes interesting, because now what do you do? Do you tell your mom, no thank you, I'm only eating fruits now? Or do you flow with the way of things and you eat what your mom has prepared for you, and you enjoy it, and you appreciate it. You appreciate the food, you appreciate your mom. Hey, hell, it might have been even like chicken and meat, and you're not eating meat anymore. That's even an attachment. And instead, perhaps, use the power of appreciation and gratitude in that particular situation, and appreciate your mom, appreciate the sentiment she put in, appreciate the food, pray over the food, appreciate the food, and eat it because it's in harmony with the way. And perhaps make a remark to your mom that I'm kind of not eating meats lately. So you still flow with the way of things. If your mom made you this thing, you eat it. It's in the way of things. I mean, if you said no now, you're really going against the flow. In my books, you're going against the flow. You're creating resistance. You're creating, again, if you bring in the energy of appreciation and you transform that, because you're a mental alchemist, you appreciate your mom, you appreciate the food, and you move on with it. That's in my books, a wiser choice, a non-attached choice, versus saying, well, no, I can't eat that stuff. I'm fruitarian. I only eat fruits. You create that disharmony. Actually, you created disharmony in that particular case, and I'll probably have to deal with that actually as I go visit my family. Probably 3-4 months from now, I'll have to deal with that. And I sort of I use that example because I'll, in all likelihood, just go, flow with it. If you woke up one day and you're fasting, but your mom said, hey, look, I know you're only eating fruits, so I have a plate of fruit for you. Now, do you tell her, Mom, I'm eating every other day? Do I tell her that? Do I tell her, Mom, I'm eating every other day? You told your mom, Mama, thank you very much for the food. You eat it, you appreciate it. You tell her, but I'm not eating meats from now on. So she says, okay. You tell her very gently. She says, okay. And then one day, you wake up, but you're like, today I'm fasting, right? That's your thing. You're fasting. You're trying to get closer to God, right? And your mom has this beautiful plate of fruits for you, some music, and she's like, here's a nice. What do you say? You tell her, no, Mom, thank you. I'm fasting. I'm not eating today. Again, that's creating disharmony. You're going against the flow of things, the way of things, and that's the attachment. Okay, that's the attachment. The attachment is you're trying to narrow reality into one band. Okay, and that's it. And that's helpful, especially when you're trying to get closer to God, closer to the light. You create all these attachments. They help you tremendously. You say, okay, fasting, eating every other day, or eating every 3 days, or eating once a day. Okay, eating only fruits. I'm doing a fruit fast, or I'm doing a juice fast. Okay, you put all these are all attachments, folks. Okay, you say these things. You say, okay, brahmacharya, right? No fap, right? No fap. And you say all these different things, right? Nature, barefoot. You create all these different attachments, and they help you tremendously, and you feel better, and you feel closer to God, and you feel closer to the light, and wow, it's amazing, and it's incredible. And then again, you get in a situation like this where, that's why, one thing that I found wise in the Buddhist tradition is the monks are vegetarian. They don't eat meat. But if they find themselves in a situation where meat's offered to them, they eat it, because they appreciate that's the food, that's what their guests, because the earliest monks, they were beggars. That's how they got their food. So whatever people gave them, whatever lay people gave them. So if they were in a situation where there was meat, but the meat sort of, I think it wasn't killed specifically for them, but it happens to be there and it's offered to them, they eat it because they understand this is wisdom. It's in harmony with the way, harmony with things, non-attachment. There's no clinging to a model. So it's not that you let go of all models. You're still doing your thing, whatever your dance is. Oh, I am a fruitarian. I am this, I am that. But you're not attached. And you listen to the way, you listen to the harmony of the moment, and you see the flow. Because if your actions if your attachment to your ways are going to create this harmony, there is something to work on. There is something to work on. That's the mind's clinging. Okay? And that's where it is. That's where it is. You could still live very much, a life of asceticism, for example, a life of renunciation. You see? And you could be totally attached to that way of being. And that's a big attachment. Sure, your attachments are getting refined, you're more spiritual, you're closer to God, etc., but you still got to deal with this attachment. I can't be with the world, right? I can't be in cities. I can't be with the world. I can't be around negative environments, right? I can't be around any of that. That's an attachment. But does that mean you say, well, I'm gonna go live in cities and I'm gonna live around pollution and stuff? No, you still do your dance. Want to live in nature? Go live in nature. It's definitely more harmonious. But you find yourself in a. I found myself in Chiang Mai for 3 days, and that sort of was challenge for me. I actually went there so almost on purpose. Stayed in the middle of Chiang Mai. I really enjoyed those 3 days. It's almost like I really did it almost because I was living in a jungle in Koh Phangan, and I'm sort of living in the mountains now, right? But I wanted to go. I stayed in the middle of the city of Chiang Mai city, and I said I'm gonna have a blast here, and I did have a blast. I said, you know what, Saeed, I know you love your nature thing. You're gonna keep doing your nature dance. That's your way you like to live, etc. But here, go to the city. I enjoyed it. I really did. I really wanted to sort of break and I ate some of the Thai foods and I just sort of let go of a lot of the rules that I have. Okay, had a blast. Does that mean I'm still doing it every day? No. It just means when it's because I had to stay. I come into Pai. It's sort of the harmony of the way was for me to stay in Chiang Mai for a few days. It's just the harmony of the trip, of the way it is. So I said, all right, I'm not gonna it's city. It's too much. It's too much pollution and stuff. No, that's I'm trying to moving forward. Also, just keep challenging these attachments. Or let the harmony, let the way challenge them for me, because life will always challenge these attachments for you. Like the other day, it just happened recently. I walked into a massage place, got a foot massage, and then I was sort of looking at all the masseuses and observing them, and I observed one of them, and I saw that she was older, less life force, I guess, and I said, in my mind, I said, well, next time I come in, I hope I get any of the masseuses, but that one, I hope I don't get her. It was sort of like, because, she seemed slow, and, she was older lady, 70 years old. I walk in the next day in the morning, and guess who's there? The only lady that's there is that lady. Okay, so I said, well, there you go. That's God, that's the universe challenging your attachments. You had an attachment there. Oh yeah, I'll have a massage on anybody but her. Right? Well, here you go. So I had a laugh about it, and I said, whatever she gives me, whatever treatment she gives me, I'm just going to appreciate her. I'm going to keep saying thank you, thank you, thank you. And ended up being a really good massage session. She had it's different than the ones I got before. It ended up being a pretty good massage. Truly, I'm not just. It was good. It was a good session, and we were talking the whole time. And so the universe will challenge your attachments, your clingings, because see, a non-clinging state would be I'm walking in, I'm open. That's a non-attached state. I'm open. It's an open state. Okay, but I walked in and I was hoping in my mind that I'm open to anything, but not that one particular masseuse. Okay? But true openness, true non-attachment, non-clinging is walking in there saying, whatever, hey God, whatever God has for us, whatever God has for me here, God has for me. That's a non-attached state. So it's not attached to this or that. It's not attached to life. It's not attached to death. Okay, that's also another thing. You might renounce this world, say, well, this life is but a maya, but an illusion. So I'm gonna go to God. I'm gonna, death, and you sort of become, you worship death. And you say, well, we're all gonna die anyway, so I'm just gonna meditate on death 24/7. Okay, and you completely renounce this life. You say this is no good. It's blah blah, right? That's an attachment. So you're attached to death over life, and then most humans are attached to life over death. So most humans, the vast majority of humans, are absolutely scared shitless of death because they're attached to life. So one side is attached to this, and then you have these some people, these, some monks and stuff, you'll see they're attached to death. Complete renunciation of life, just attached to death and only death. Okay, and that's all they meditate on, and it's like this is just, it's completely irrelevant. Okay, so it's actually not attached to life, not attached to death. I'm alive. What is life? What is my role in life? I'll do it until I do it no more, until the life force leaves. That's not attachment. Okay, I found myself in that predicament back in the early stages of experimenting with psychedelics. I found myself in this predicament. I just wanted to be up there in the skies, in heaven, right? And I had several trips. I went out of my body, and I didn't want to come back to my body. Then I was gently sort of sent back in here, I guess, by my higher mind or something, or the spirit guides or angels or whatever, because I was starting to develop an attachment to the other side, to death, essentially, beyond death. But now I understand it's not this, not that. It's not attachment to life, not attachment to death. There's nowhere to be, essentially. You're essentially shapeless and formless. You're like water. I'm alive right now. Okay. What is my role in life? What is my heredity? What is my the structure of my family? What is this? What is the opportunities life gives me? I'll flow with it. I'm not going to renounce life. But I'm not going to renounce death. Whenever death comes, I say hello. All right, time to go. Bye-bye. All right, you leave life as if it's a dream, which it is. But you're not attached to death, saying, well, okay, this world is illusion, it's bullshit, it's this and that. You're not attached to life neither. You're not attached to neither, really. You're not attached to neither. So, anyway, I'm going to end this video because, again, I don't usually go beyond 32, 33 minutes because, of the video starts to cut, and I'm lazy to edit them and put them together. So thank you to all the Patreons. You know what? I really do feel like some things have not been said yet here. But again, I'm just going to finish the video right now. I'm going to flow with the flow. Go with the way it is right now. It's finishing. But that's a little bit about non-attachment, and we'll keep talking about it. It's a very, very deep topic. I could go on here sitting down talking about example after example of things of what non-attachment looks like. Okay, just keep that example in mind. I'm a fruitarian, but one day you wake up, your mom made you this thing. What do? I would personally eat it. I would personally say, thank you, Mom. And then I would tell her later on, maybe, okay, I'm eating this food now or that food or whatever. I would go on. And I think that's harmonious. That's a non-attached thing to do. Okay, so I mentioned a lot of examples here. Take whichever one resonates with you and apply it to your life. We'll talk about this more. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Patreons. If you want to support in any way, links are in the description. One-time PayPal donations, $2 a month on Patreon. Anything helps. We'll host retreats here if we get enough money at some point, and I'm doing this full-time, and we have money flowing. It'll be cheap. Just fly over here and blah, blah, blah. Do the retreats here. Have a blast. Love you guys, and until next time, may the force